Are you thinking of moving out of the state of California, but you're not really sure where to go? And have you considered moving to Arizona, but yet you're not really sure what the residents are like, the climate, and some of the terrain in the different counties? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Californians Relocation Guide to Moving to Arizona, and I'm going to talk to you about the different parts of the state and which parts might be appropriate to you if you are moving to Arizona from California. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I talk about everything about living in the state of Arizona, particularly in the north, and real estate topics. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and I am a real estate agent in the state of Arizona. And if you ever want to talk about buying or selling a home in Arizona, my contact information is always in the description below, and you can give me a call, text, or an email, and I will get back to you. So I'm going to start with, if you were living in one of the bigger cities in California like Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, one of the largely populated areas, and you don't mind a crowd and you enjoy the nice network of transportation options or the amount of job opportunities that you have, or the leisure things to do, the shopping, the restaurants, the opportunities to make friends and meet people, you might actually enjoy living in Phoenix. Now, when I say Phoenix, I don't mean the city of Phoenix only. I'm talking about the surrounding towns: Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe, Chandler, Glendale, Avondale, Goodyear, Apache Junction, all of the things that I say metropolitan Phoenix. Now, right now, Phoenix has a population of about 1.6 million residents. And if you think of all of Maricopa County, which would be the metro Phoenix area, it has a population of about 4.4 million. And when you consider that Arizona alone has only a 7.1 million population, Phoenix does represent, or Metro Phoenix, Maricopa County, does represent the huge bulk of the Arizona population. And Phoenix, I actually joke that recently Phoenix is LA Light. I call it LA Light. Part of it for two reasons. It's just become very big, very populated. You have a huge network of freeways, transportation, public transportation, tons of jobs and tons of people living there, tons of housing opportunities, even though there's a little bit of a shortage of housing. And there are a lot of people who have moved from California to Phoenix. So you may feel very comfortable living in Phoenix. It might not be much different. Now, again, I joke with my son that Phoenix is LA Light, or mini LA, I call it, but you don't have the really nice climate or the beach. What you do have is very hot temperatures in the summer. The July average, they are citing at 106, but don't let that fool you. That's the average. There are many days over the course of a summer where you have temperatures above 110. That could go on for months. So if you can't handle that high temperature, then maybe just ignore Phoenix altogether. Same thing with Tucson and some of the cities on the Colorado River border, like Lake Havasu, Yuma, those Kingman, those cities, because it gets very hot there. But most of the time, people will stay inside in the have their air-conditioned car, or they'll stay in the pool. So even though it's very hot in Phoenix all summer, that might not bother you, because once you've lived there for a few years, you do find ways to cope with it, which is mostly staying inside and doing indoor activities during the summertime, or if you do outdoor activities, doing it very, very early in the morning. So Phoenix could be a good choice for you. Now, the median home price in Phoenix right now, I looked it up, January 2025, is $529,000. But again, Maricopa County is huge, and the city of Phoenix, that was just for city of Phoenix, there is a huge range of prices. That is just what's coming in at the median. Now, if you enjoy the progressive politics of California, you're always going to vote Democrat, you align very strongly with progressive politics, I would say you're going to be most comfortable in Tucson and possibly in Flagstaff. Now, before you say always going to vote blue, just realize some of those progressive policies is kind of what's ruined California. There's been a mismanagement of resources, which might be why you're thinking right now of moving away. So again, if you want to come to Arizona and those are really important to you, you may want to head to Tucson. Tucson is probably the most progressive part of the state, followed by Flagstaff. And again, Flagstaff itself may be a little bit progressive, but a lot of the surrounding towns are going to be more conservative. Now, sometimes I don't like to talk about politics at all in my channel, at all in my videos, but a lot of times people will ask me about it. Now, Tucson is also quite nice. And the two things about Tucson and Flagstaff, both of them are college towns. And Tempe also being a college town, but Tempe within Phoenix. So it's kind of, tiny part, but Tucson, Flagstaff, college towns. Now in Tucson, the population is 540,000. The temperatures are not quite as hot as Phoenix, slightly higher elevation. I think it's around the 3,000 foot elevation, whereas Phoenix perhaps about 1,000 above sea level. So the temperatures in Tucson, their average is cited at 100. So 106 in Phoenix now. Still, remember, they're going to be quite a few days above that temperature. That's just what the average is in July. The home price in Tucson, much more affordable. The median home price in Tucson is $401,000 $401,000. So Tucson, more affordable, smaller. In fact, Tucson reminds me of what Phoenix was 30 or 40 years ago. It's still nice. It's still kind of like the Wild West. It hasn't gotten too populated. One of the things, though, that I'm not crazy about is a lot of homes are older, a lot of buildings are older, 50, built in the 70s, although there are parts that are newer than that. But Tucson, you still have that Old West vibe, smaller population in Phoenix, still warm, but not nearly as hot as Phoenix. And again, like I'm saying, if you like the progressive politics, Tucson would be a better choice. And Tucson also very astute with medical. There is a medical school in Tucson associated with the University of Arizona. I know a lot of young people, including my daughter, that are trying to get into the University of Arizona Medical School. So if you're into medical careers, Tucson and Phoenix are probably the best places, although Flagstaff has a very good medical system as well. So now, if you are terrified of the wildfires, and I can understand why you would be. I've been watching the coverage of fires in Los Angeles. It's really terrifying and very sad. And if you are scared of wildfires, let me tell you, places to avoid would be Flagstaff, Payson, and Prescott. Although that doesn't mean some of these northern Arizona towns are at zero risk. I don't want you to think that, but those three areas, plus the White Mountains possibly, because they have the very tall ponderosa pines, and that puts them at higher risk of wildfires, especially because some of those towns are nestled within the national forest, surrounded by pine trees. Now, right now, as we speak, there is a wildfire going on in Payson, but the difference between some of the Arizona fires, Payson has had a fire going for 2 or 3 weeks now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and it is mostly contained, and there's been no loss of life and no loss of homes as of yet, as of this, when I looked it up 2 days ago. So Arizona does take the wildlife and the forest fire management very, very seriously, and they put a lot of measures in place to make sure that wildfire damage is to a minimum, and some of those things include controlled burns. And often up here you're like, oh my gosh, I smell smoke, those stupid controlled burns, would they stop doing it? But it really is good for managing the risk of forest fires, because if stuff gets too overgrown, the controlled burns kind of keeps the brush to a minimum. There are the power lines are always taken care of. And funny, I was just reading on the Nextdoor app that last night in Sedona, somebody thought they saw something a little sparky with one of the power poles, and they immediately called and reported in, and Sedona Fire Department was there like instantly checking it out, making sure there was no underbrush and making sure everything was good. So we take forest fires very seriously here. We do occasionally have them. I mean, a couple of years ago in Flagstaff. Now, the other thing that happens after the fires is 6 months from now, you may have flooding and mudslides. We don't really have that so much, the mudslides in Arizona, but we do get the flooding that comes from a burn scar. But again, we're very serious about the fire management and try to keep the infrastructure in place to keep fires, which will happen, but we try to keep the infrastructure in place to keep them from going way out of control. So, but if you're really scared of those, I'm not saying Sedona Verde Valley is exempt from it. That's where I live, Sedona. But highest risk is going to be Prescott area, Flagstaff, Payson, and White Mountains. So if those are like out of the question, you're terrified of fires, avoid those towns. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Flagstaff. Flagstaff has a population of 77,000, home of Northern Arizona University. Now, I am an NAU alumnus. I enjoyed going to Northern Arizona University. I loved living in Flagstaff. The only problem with Flagstaff is the winters are just really cold. I've been watching the weather app now. It's January 2025. I've been whining and complaining about it being 25 overnight, and I'm seeing Flagstaff, it's like 10 degrees at night, so it's just very cold. Now, we have had a dry winter, very little snow this winter, but that doesn't mean it couldn't come. Typically, February and March are pretty snowy months in Flagstaff, so we could get snow, but we've had very little snow. I don't think we've had any snow in Sedona this season. We typically do get about 11 inches of snow in Sedona. We typically in Flagstaff get about 80 inches of snow over the winter time. Very little snow this year. Now there is a ski resort, Snow Bowl, in Flagstaff, and they have the artificial snow machine, so you can still go skiing in Flagstaff, even though it's been a kind of a dud year for snow. But again, it's mid-January, so we could get, usually February is my birthday month, we typically get a lot of snow in February and even March and sometimes in April, so it could change. We could get some snow, we could get more snow. So February, Flagstaff again. Now the thing to know about Flagstaff, when I'm talking about temperatures, the median temperature in July is 82. So wonderful summer times in Flagstaff. But the median list price for homes is $926,000 in Flagstaff. So Flagstaff is a little bit pricey. Similar to Sedona, where I live now. Sedona is about an hour south of Flagstaff. What's nice is we're at 4,045 elevation, so we're still cooler than Phoenix, but we don't get as cold. Like I was saying, I've been whining and complaining. It's been 25 overnight. The heat kicks on every 10 minutes overnight, but Flagstaff, it's been like 10 degrees. It can be 7. It can get 0 in Flagstaff, and again, you could have heavy snow. A little warmer here in Sedona Verde Valley where I live. That's also a nice choice, but Sedona, the median list price is even higher than Flagstaff. Like Flagstaff is high, but where I am in Village of Oak Creek, it's about $1 million for median list, and if I'm in the pricier zip code of Uptown or West Sedona, it's closer to $1.5 million for the median list price. Now, if you want to go to the neighboring towns of like Cottonwood, Camp Verde, Cornville, Clarkdale, which is very close to Sedona, those are very good choices too. Elevation of maybe 3,300 above sea level, lower medium price, but those are going to be more conservative counties too. If you're coming from maybe one of the more rural parts of California, that could be a good fit. When I say Verde Valley, I'm talking about Cottonwood, Camp Verde, Clarkdale, or even on the other side of Mingus Mountain Range, Prescott. Like I say, maybe you think Prescott is too close to the forest and you're worried about fires. Also a little bit pricey in Prescott. Prescott Valley is a very good choice. I sell a lot of houses over there because it's just good value, and probably better value in Prescott Valley than say, it's hard to say, probably more opportunities to get an affordable house in Prescott Valley than maybe Cottonwood, Camp Verde, but then that kind of changes with the season and at times. So if you're interested in moving to either of those places, you might want to just give me a email or a phone call, and I could talk and I could look up what's currently for sale in those two markets. So those are probably the biggest things to consider if you are moving from California and thinking maybe Arizona. Now, I do a lot of real estate. I sell mostly homes in the Sedona Verde Valley area. Probably 50% of my clients are coming from California, Oregon, and Washington. I do also get a lot of clients that are coming up from Phoenix, of course, we're right next to each other. Many people are coming from Florida, kind of a little swap going on between Arizona and Florida, but a lot of the other West Coast towns, Midwestern towns, I am getting a mix of clients coming from different areas. So I hope you found this information helpful. My name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a realtor in Northern Arizona. Sometimes I sell in Phoenix though, and I do have a network of agents that I work with who more knowledgeable in some of the other towns like Phoenix. I do sell in Flagstaff and Prescott, but I also have partner agents. I actually lived in Flagstaff for a long time and worked there, so I know many good agents in Flagstaff. I know a few good agents that I do deals with in Prescott if you want a Prescott expert. And again, I lived in Phoenix for 50 years, so I know a lot about Phoenix, and I do know a lot of Phoenix agents. If you want a referral from there, I actually started my real estate business in Phoenix, moved to Flagstaff in 2018, and then kind of migrated over to Sedona. So right now, most of my business is in Sedona, Verde Valley. So if you have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, particularly Sedona, Verde Valley, Northern Arizona, or if you want me to just hook you up to a good agent here, give me a call or a text or an email. My contact information is always in the description below, and I love to talk real estate. I will get back to you if I am busy out with clients. I won't be able to pick up the phone, but I will always call you back. So I hope you enjoyed the video. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona. I post every single week 2 types of videos. One would be the Northern Arizona towns, and the other would be just general real estate topics. So those 2 types of videos you will find on my channel. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I hope to see you back here on my channel again next week.